My name is Jerry Morris, and today's video is going to be a little different than the others. I've had so many requests for people to they want to understand how I'm doing this, what procedure is it, what limitations I have. So I'm going to try to give you an idea of what I go through to get these visions, and then just keep writing in, and I will try to address some of the missing people that you mentioned. First of all, um, this trait or talent that I might have is not religious or spiritual in any way. At least I don't think so. It doesn't feel like it. It's actually, I think, due to many years of poor health. I had a lot of downtime, and I was in a room without TV. I couldn't watch TV or read. Probably, or it was low light, and you start playing mind games. And over the years, and I'm talking about 30, 35 years of this, you develop things, and without really knowing it. So actually, the cute story when my kids were young, they thought it'd be great to give each other Indian names, and they proceeded to name me Dad Who Sleeps a Lot, and that was the truth. I was down sometimes 14 hours a day sleeping. So due to poor health, uh, I think I came across this talent, and also I have a huge interest in the psychic world, and so I did try to further that. Um, I don't channel anyone. I don't use angels. I just go through a procedure. Uh, the procedure is this: I get as much information as I can on the individual. So I Google the case, and get it set in my mind, and then all the parameters set in my mind. Try to clear away any bias, any opinion, because that's only works against me and what I'm trying to do. And then I let go of the um, I let go of all of this information. Just let it go, and then I come back to it about an hour later, and I work on it. And what I usually get is a first vision that is very accurate. After that, it can be a little elusive because your imagination comes in, your brain comes in, and wants to fill in the missing parts, and you fill it in with your logic brain, which I don't want to offer you. Everybody can do that. Everybody can surmise and speculate. I don't want to bring you that. Uh, what information I'm getting through the uh, visions is something from without. It's not coming from within me. It's coming from without into me. And the reason I know that a lot is because I'm very surprised sometimes with the vision. It's something I would have never thought of, something I've never seen. It's a weird vision, and so my brain probably wouldn't come up with that. And then the last thing is I have to have some energy and empathy for um, to have a good reading. I have to be um, committed to this person. I have to want to find out what happens. As an example, if I'm asked to find a man, say 20 years old, he's part of a gang. He's a druggie. He's uh, is abusive to his girlfriend. He takes no responsibility for his kids. He's mean to his kid. He's been um, a criminal since he's 13. Well, if I'm asked to find him, I I have to work at having some empathy for this kid before I can build up enough energy to stay with it. Whereas as example, the Jamie Kloss case or the Kelsey Barrett case, I have no problems. These are innocent women, girl and woman, that I have empathy for their innocence, and they did not leave live a dangerous existence. So that's how I go. It's not easy, and I must tell you one quick story is that good psychics don't edit, don't check their visions against logic. Example is this: one of the best um, psychics I know. She was quite famous locally on the radio, and she was on the radio and she was speaking in a very old Egyptian dialect. And everyone thought that was great, so she was back weekly. And one day they asked her how they built the pyramids. Once obvious question, and she, without hesitation, in her trance, said they built it from the top down. Well, she no longer was invited back to the radio station, and she was sort of a laughing stock. But there is a sign of a very good psychic. She doesn't check, she doesn't edit. Sometimes she's wrong. She may not be wrong with how they built the pyramids. They still don't know. Okay, so we're going to get to 3 or 4 cases. The last case is I'm going to leave it up to you to solve, and I'll come back next week and we'll work on it. So be sure and subscribe so you, having worked on it, you come back and see what I did on it. The first case is the most urgent. Her name is Karlie Guse, Guse. I think there's an accent mark on the last letter. Gone missing from Bishop, California. There's a picture of her. I think hopefully it'll can show up. It's urgent because she's still alive. She's in distress. She was either abducted or coerced to go to a larger city. She's now into prostitution, forced into prostitution with drugs, and it is urgent that the Vice Squad of Sacramento and San Francisco start pushing to get rid of the pimps and the prostitution and get these girls home, because there's more than just her. There's many, and oftentimes the police think that they're just druggies and that's what they deserve. It is not the case. This girl is very innocent. Somehow railroad tracks are a part of this. She may have been along the railroad tracks when she was abducted. I'm not really sure. So if you have any influence, you can make calls to these cities or whatever. Please do that. It's very important. This is a young kid, Kyron Horman, Portland. I did a reading on this case a few years ago. The stepmother was suspected of harming Kyron, and nothing was ever done. It hasn't been solved. I sent in an email to the law enforcement. Of course, they ignored it like they always do. And the stepmother actually went on Dr. Phil program a few years afterwards, professing her innocence and that she had nothing to do with it. My vision was that she ran over Horman. What is his name again? Kyron Horman. She ran over him with the family truck. The left front wheel went over him, killed him. I don't know if it's an accident or not, but she proceeded to hide the body and then not say anything about it. The stepmother has since divorced the father, moved on, gotten a new life, new husband, etc. But that was my reading, and I still feel strongly about it. I've been asked many times about the Delphi murders. It's Delphi, Indiana, of 2 young girls. Here's a picture of them. The police blew this. This was a person who killed them was a young man, like 16 or 17. He was fishing. He'd left his 2 poles up on the bridge and had come to get them before he left. And he's the one that killed them, and then he left on a bicycle with his fishing gear. So if you have any influence there, that would be great. This is a frustrating one. It is Crystal Rogers. You can Google her. She's been missing. And it doesn't take a psychic, if you read about it, to know who did it. It was her boyfriend who killed her, and her boyfriend's brother, who was a cop at the time, helped him hide the body. And there are two thugs, and the police seem to be, at least for a long time, dragging their feet. One more part of this is that you see that this is her father that was beside her. Her father put a lot of energy into finding her and finding the murder, and he was shot. And he was out in a field, and the police, quote, said that he was shot by a hunter. They haven't gotten any more clues, which I don't believe at all. She was killed, and probably he was killed by the same two people. The body is, there is a golf course in that community that borders on a field. Field could be wheat, it could be where horses graze, it could be corn, but the golf course borders on a field that, and she is buried in the field along that border where there's lots of bushes, some trees, shrubbery, etc. So she is buried there. I hope someone could run this down and give it a shot and use some type of radar or whatever that would uncover that. But and the mother is still there searching, and she now is not even allowed to see her grandchild because she's caused such a stink, and that she's been ruled to totally stay away from her own grandchild. So it's a shame. A very old case that I did some work on. This is the Madeleine McCann case. It was a British couple that was vacationing in Portugal. Their daughter, Madeleine, was abducted. A lot of criticism and suspicion with the mother and the parents, and they are completely innocent. The young girl was snatched by a tradesman who was working on a stone sidewalk in that area, and he was laying these square blocks or stones on an esplanade or courtyard or something. He was in that area, and he abducted Madeleine and left put her in a basket on his bicycle and left. And then the last is a very, very interesting case, and it still can be solved. And this is, hope you can see it, this is Missy Bevers. This has been a couple years old. The person you see there with her is the murderer. How often do you get to see the murderer? The murderer is waiting for her, dressed in a fake SWAT uniform with helmet and all. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to work on it. And she was a fitness instructor. She's married. She had three children. And I did work on this. I was shocked at what I got, but I'd love for you to work on it. But what you have to do, in my opinion, is go YouTube it and watch the video. They have a video of this person in this uniform walking around the hallway with a hammer, I think, and waiting for Missy to come in and set up her exercise class. So hit subscribe, and we will go over this case. I want to hear from you too in between times. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about JonBenet next time. I know it's an awful subject and so many conjectures, but I'll give you mine, which is also a huge surprise. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Thanks.